We'd like to invite you to just close your eyes and relax as the music plays and rest in the presence and hold space. Be back with you shortly.
Namo Namah Namo Welcome.
Welcome to our weekly online satsang. We call it a global satsang because we have people who join us from all over the world, from other continents and countries. We're a group of people on the path of awakening and the flowering of the heart. This isn't a formal organization or membership. We come from different teachings, different teachers, different spiritual traditions and backgrounds. But what we have in common is that we're part of this new wave of humanity that is awakening into oneness and experiencing the flower of the heart in oneness with divine consciousness, unconditional love, and compassion. And our focus is very much on connecting with the divine being that dwells at the center of the heart, the spiritual heart, that is. Because if you go deep enough inside, you'll discover your authentic self, your original self, your divine self is none other than the divine itself. And what you've been looking for, in other words, is you. And it's within you. It's been there all the time. Your true essence, your divine self, is enlightenment itself. And you don't just have a little spark in there. Sometimes we talk about having a spark of the divine in the center of all things, and that's true. But when you actually take the dive and make contact with it, that spark within you is the entire universe. It's the entire Godhead. The outer world is merely a reflection of your inner world. So, in a way, this is a very direct path, the flowering of the heart, the flowering heart path, because many of us over the years have become caught up in teachings and organizations and teachers and saints and masters outside of ourselves who helped us a great deal along the way, maybe are still helping us. We always need to remain open to one another because none of us has it all. It's only when we all come to, well, we do within ourselves, but it only manifests when we come together in humility and share our pieces. But instead of getting caught up in an endless series of workshops and teachers and journeys to places of power and all of that, we've learned to take the dive within into the center of the heart. And to assist us on this, in this process, the divine shared with Suzanne and me, it's been, 6 years now?
7, I think.
7 years, yeah. 7 years ago, 2015. A new form of blessing. It was new to us. It wasn't a new form of blessing. It's very ancient. It has a Sanskrit name, Hridaya, Vikasa, Diksha, which means flowering heart blessing. So we just call it flowering heart blessing. But the divine said, tell people, when you give them this transmission, that it is a gift from the divine source itself. This isn't from Michael and Suzanne. It doesn't belong to Flowering Heart Center in Clearwater, Florida. It belongs to the divine and to whomever the divine chooses to impart it, which, as it turns out, in the case of the Flowering Heart Blessing, is anybody. Because the world needs to awaken. Humanity needs to shift from competition, conflict, and violence to cooperation, harmony, and peace. I don't even think there's an argument there. We all agree. The question is, how do we get there? Some organizations with certain methods say they have the magic key to enlighten all of humanity and transform the world. Well, if that's so, so be it. But you see, the flowering heart blessing, the divine said, tell people it doesn't come through any organization or master or particular saint. It comes from me, and therefore it really is, for lack of a better word, interfaith. I like the word transfaith too, but that has other meanings these days. But it means to transcend any particular faith orientation. It's the divine itself seeking to help humanity shift. I was talking about the need for humanity to awaken. We've learned a long, hard way over countless thousands of years that we can't enlighten ourselves. It's not really the fruit of our efforts or of some particular technique or practice or path like that. It's a gift of grace. Buddha's my favorite example because he tried everything, mastered everything. Nothing got him enlightened until he just sat down and stopped. And when he stopped the ego-driven effort to attain enlightenment, his true nature, which is enlightenment, which was Bodhi, which you have within you, just began to flower. And the only thing that was in the way was Buddha. And it's the same with you and me. Our path may be different in certain ways, but they parallel one another. So the Flowering Heart Blessing is the divine giving grace to assist us in awakening and flowering into higher states of consciousness, individually and collectively. There are many forms of blessing that are proliferating on the planet these days that come from the divine. The divine will work with anybody who's open. So there are beautiful Christian forms of blessing, Buddhist forms of blessing, Hindu forms of blessing, Taoist forms of blessing. If I keep going, somebody will feel left out, so I'll stop right there. But all the great mystical traditions have, if you dig deep enough, some direct transmission of enlightenment. And it's kind of what everybody likes, so we try to earn it or work for it, and that just gets in the way. So we need the help of the divine, the grace of the divine to make it happen. And that's why there are all of these transmissions of Diksha, Shaktipat, blessing, Reiki, which has some other focuses, that perhaps more on healing, but it's still enlightening and brings people in touch with their true self, with the light. So, and we could just go on naming all these blessings, but this one, I want you to get what's special to us about it is that it doesn't belong to any traditional organization but the divine itself. That the divine said it is free. It's my gift and it's grace. And if I choose to give someone a gift of grace, don't you go charging them for that. Then it isn't a gift anymore. They just paid for it and all of that gets in the way. So give it away and tell people that when they receive it, they are initiated immediately to be able to pass the blessing on to others. See, we're just instruments. We just invite the divine to use us as vessels or instruments of grace, and then we just get out of the way, and the flowering heart blessing comes flooding through and puts people in direct contact with the indwelling divine and causes what maybe in the beginning looked like a spark to go supernova and just to radiate and expand out from the center through all the layers of our being. Spirit, soul, body, relationships, connections to the universe, out to infinity. The ripple begins when we make solid contact with the true source, which isn't in somebody out there who's enlightened. They're just holding up a mirror. An enlightened guru or master is a very valuable gift. If you have run into one or many, congratulations. Not everyone is that fortunate, although there are more and more and more awakened people on planet Earth. When you see and experience the presence and the light radiating through an awakened being, what you're seeing is a mirror reflecting to you your true self. And if that weren't true, you wouldn't be able to see it in them, because the outer world's a reflection of you. So it's a beautiful thing, and you're now soaking in it. We're all being flooded with this blessing, and it keeps flowing through the entire satsang. A little later on, after we take questions and answers, we'll hold some strong intent blessings where we take an intent and we ask the divine to intervene in your lives or in the lives or situations that you've brought with you in your heart tonight, to open the door to miracles of transformation and release and growth in you and through you. And we close with the open eye light meditation, which we explain when we get there. But it's wonderful that you're here. And one of the special parts satsang means community of truth, which is kind of a high-minded notion, but wherever you have two or more people who are in the process of the path of awakening come together that's a community of truth. We could just call it a spiritual community. We could call it just people, followers on the path coming together. When we do that, we strengthen one another. When we share our breakthroughs and our victories, when we share our challenges and our frustrations, it helps everybody because, as I said earlier, our paths may be very different and very unique, and yet they parallel one another in that every soul goes through certain stages, goes through certain challenges, ups and downs on the journey that would parallel anyone else going through that journey, whether you're a Buddhist, a Christian, or whatever your particular backgrounds may be. So, questions and answers. When you ask a question or about something that you may be puzzling over in your own journey or your own spiritual practice, it resonates with all of us. And it moves the divine to inspire clarity and insight that we might be able to share with all of us. So, and of course, if you have recently discovered, a breakthrough in consciousness, it doesn't have to be a question. You can always share your experience, the insight that you gain. We'd love to hear it. But we're going to give a few minutes to that. So thank you for those of you that gave us loves or likes. If you're on Facebook Live, you can give us a thumbs up or a heart, or there are a couple other selections. But later on, when we're finished tonight, we can go in and see your name and send you a special hug and blessing. If you're on Vimeo or one of the other platforms, you'd have to actually enter a comment in the chat for us to know that you were there. But please, say hi and let us know you're here. We like that. So, all right. Questions? My question is, why are there no questions? We'll give it a few minutes. There's been so much, I don't know about your lives, but there's just been so much going on here. Whew. And our job is to stay centered and hold space to help people through the vicissitudes of life. There's a word for you. What is a vicissitude? Well, it's kind of a wave. It's the ups and downs of the journey. And it's so important to be part of a spiritual community. This helps a lot, and we can connect with one another from around the world and really connect. But to have a group that you can meet with locally, to meditate together, to offer your prayers, to share your journeys with each other is such an important part. And we wish for all of you to have that. And remind you, if you don't, have a place where people are actually directly sharing blessing, you can start one. If you need permission, here it is. You've got permission. And it would be a great service to your community, but it would help you. And you don't have to be incredibly articulate or think you're a special spiritual teacher. And if you are, wonderful, and run free with this. But you, on our website, which is floweringheart.org, we have a 36-minute video that explains the Flowering Heart blessing and leads everyone in an initiatory meditation. And while that isn't essential, because if you're here for the first time, you're being initiated right now, it can be helpful. Some people like to be taken through a process, and it's not elaborate, it's simple, it's really powerful. And we encourage you to use that video. There are links to it all over our website at floweringheart.org. So, yeah. Do you have any questions, Suzanne?
No.
Come on, y'all. Now, if there aren't any questions, that's fine. We will move on into something else. But
that's fun part.
Yeah, it is fun.
Yeah. Well, it's all fun, but
we get into some unexpected areas of reflection because of the questions that you folks bring forth. So that's pretty much your whole job here. Receive and fill up. And you can do that. You can just be quiet and drink it in. It feels a bit to me, in my heart of hearts, that that's kind of what everybody wants tonight. So what would the divine like? For all of us to dissolve in oneness and presence. Okay. Well.
hurry up and wait. There's one.
John, I knew we could count on you. So John writes, my spiritual experience was a perfect storm that included years of struggle. It started after a lengthy emotional release. After sitting down, a sensation started at the navel and then went down, out, and then up. It seems that many chakra teachings start at the base of the spine. Yeah, I think we talked about this a little, might have been last week even, or the week before. Meditation on the chakras is definitely part of the yoga path. It's not part of all paths. It's an interesting thing, but it does, most chakra teachings start with the Kundalini, the dormant, divine, transformational energy that resides in the root chakra. And the Hindus have millions of deities, but each of the chakras has a particular divine aspect or form. The root chakra is ruled over by that character Ganesh, the elephant-headed boy. Cute guy, kind of chubby, with an elephant head, and he's the remover of obstacles. But also, he sits in the root chakra, and so when the Kundalini is awakened, it begins to rise up the Shushumna. The Shushumna is the central energy channel in the Pranamaya Kosha, the prana body. And as it journeys up the Shushumna, which in the energy body runs along the spine essentially, it awakens the chakras. And there are gajillions of chakras in the body. I mean, there are chakras in the center of the palms of your hand, which when they're open are really interesting. You can see with your hands and feel amazing things. A lot of healers have very active chakras awakened in the palms of their hands. There's a very powerful chakra at the navel. The third chakra is the power chakra. And so some people experience Kundalini awakening first, right there, right at the navel. That's not an uncommon thing at all, especially when I've been involved with traditions that give Shaktipat, which is a transmission that's specifically, like we talk about the flowering of the heart, Shaktipat is specifically to awaken the Kundalini and cause it to rise. Breath of fire is a very powerful pranayama breathing technique that a lot of people do these days. And often you would feel that when it really kicks in the third chakra. But ultimately, that energy in the first chakra, because it's stability, security, it's like the mountain everything is sitting on top of, needs to be transformed. The Kundalini energy, everyone has it. Until there became such an explosion of spirituality in recent years, most people, even meditators, didn't experience Kundalini awakening. It was even considered scary and dangerous. But that energy has to be awakened and transformed, because that's where it all begins. Now, it can happen different ways, though. I have a friend, an old friend, we haven't talked much in recent years, that he is a professor at a major Catholic university, and he is a contemplative mystic. Contemplative prayer is a form of Christian prayer where you're not praying, the divine is praying you. The divine takes over and begins to draw you into deeper and deeper states of oneness with itself. It's a very beautiful thing. And anyway, this old friend is an avid practitioner of mystical contemplative prayer, very involved in the centering prayer movement, which is a method that helps people move into contemplation. And he began to have these experiences. He began to feel all of this energy moving through him. And he began to, deep in absorption, with his eyes closed, he began to see these spinning wheels of color with petals, like lotus petals. And the first one at the bottom was red, and the next one was orange, and then the next one at the navel is yellow, and then the heart one was green, emerald green, and the throat was like sky blue, and the one in the center of the forehead was deep indigo blue and purple at the crown. And what in the world is this? It looks like psychedelic flowers spinning inside of me, going up my spine. And he didn't know anything about the chakras. That's what makes, I think, this so interesting. It wasn't part of his path in a conscious way. It wasn't something he knew about or focused on at all. His whole focus was on yielding to the divine presence, to be dissolved in oneness with the divine. That's it, and centered in Christ, and very fervent Christian believer. And he started to experience these things, and he did some research and found out, oh my gosh, that's what the Hindus call the chakras. In the yoga tradition, those are chakras. They're real. They aren't like the product of some like demonic possession that makes you start to hallucinate or imagination. It's the real McCoy. And he ended up writing a book called Kundalini and Christian Contemplation. And it was explaining how the Kundalini had a part in his Christian mystical journey without him looking for it. But some of us are very sensitive to inner seeing. We see forms, color, energy. Some people see auras with their eyes wide open, can see energy moving between people and things with their eyes wide open. A lot of people have that in closed eye meditation, but certainly not everybody. There are others who are more auditory. They hear things, and I don't just mean voices talking to them, they hear sounds. There's this whole nada yoga, which is the yoga of the inner sound. And some people hear this sound vibrations deep inside. Usually the surface ones are actually the electricity going through the human nervous system that's being picked up by the inner ear. That's a physical thing, and yet it's still often being triggered from higher energies being released as a result of spiritual practice. But those sounds go deeper and deeper, and some of them are like drums playing, and some of them are like flutes playing, and there's one that is the sound of thunder lightning striking. And that one is supposed to result in instantaneous enlightenment, awakening. It's fascinating. But if you're not a person who happens to hear those inner sounds, it's like frustratingly a waste of time. So we're not stuck in any one approach, but meditation on the chakras, I think, and we do that in our own community every week at Flowering Heart Center, is very helpful on the spiritual path, because we have these basic charges or programming that the ego is very invested in: power, lust, and materialism. Materiality, wanting security, and wanting, and for a lot of people, security is possession and fortune. And the first chakra is very invested in that. And that can obviously go astray. So it needs to be cleared. And that need of the first chakra supplied in a balanced spiritual way. And the second chakra is a lot about pleasure, but it's about sensory connection with the world around us. And it's not just physical, it could be astral connection or energetic connection to the world around us. But the second chakra is involved in what we experience as pleasure. If it's shut off, people don't experience pleasure. And that needs to be obviously cleared. That's been the downfall, that whole pleasure addiction thing, and inappropriate, especially sexual contact, has messed up a lot of people's lives. And so all addictions are pretty much centered in that second chakra. The third chakra is the power one. And we need some power and control in our lives, but most of us feel like we're powerless and out of control. So there's all this inappropriate behavior on planet Earth where people try to lord it over other people and control other people and feel in control, when we're not in control of anything. Unless we're talking about our divine self, and it's in control of it all. But not subject to our ego self. And the heart chakra is the connection of love, of love, not pleasure, but love, heartfelt oneness, true compassion, unconditional love, heart chakra, and that can be wounded in the arena of human love and need a lot of healing, trauma and abuse. Throat chakra is the chakra of creative expression. Well, gee, that's a surprise. I mean, because we share with the divine the ability to speak vibration, and it isn't always words, it's sounds. There are healing systems that just use sound vibration expressed through the throat chakra. And it's also the chakra that spawns endless questions of the mind. And it's a challenge for many of us for the Kundalini energy to get past the throat chakra and all of its incessant mental garbage and questioning of everything. Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda, great master, used to say that the ego is at the top of the neck, at the back of the head. Right there where the spine meets the skull, there's a gateway. That's also spoken about in Taoist yoga and in other systems, but to get past that, for that door to be opened, only then can the Kundalini fully unfold in the third eye chakra, which is the chakra of mystical vision and deep intuition and Buddha consciousness, and the seventh chakra, which is the chakra of cosmic consciousness. The crown chakra, when it's closed, we feel separate. When it's open, we feel connected to the universal grid of life, or the flower of life, and we feel in oneness. So the chakras are going to be involved in somebody's spiritual journey, whether they work on them directly or not. But there are the beautiful, simple mantras that activate each of the chakras, clear them, balance them, and help the Kundalini energy ascend. I was starting to say that until recent years, most people's only experience of the Kundalini Shakti, the Kundalini energy, was in sex, in procreation, and in battle. I've heard about the power of the warrior's loins. That's the energy of the root chakra being used to fight, being used for survival, being used for combat, and being used for procreation and sexuality. All of that is taking that life force, that energy that finds its center in the root chakra, and just pouring it out. What Kundalini does is it begins to sublimate it and turn it up. I mean, Kundalini yoga practice, and brings it up, and transformation begins. Some teachers think it's absolutely essential, but again, a Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, the great master that started the Transcendental Meditation movement, he didn't focus on it at all.
And if you're not really very interested in diving into Kundalini exercises or chakra meditations or any of that, the more that we work on ourselves, on our wounds and the things that are in us that are keeping those chakras gunked up and imbalanced, the more we do that with compassion and love for the issues that are in each of the chakras, which you can get a clue of what they are by the description of what Michael just said, of each chakra and what it holds in it. And so if, like, you have an addiction, then by working on that addiction would help strengthen and clear the second chakra. And if you feel like your life is out of control or somebody is controlling you, working on your self-esteem and on your loving yourself and taking back some control, not in a controlling way, but just structuring your life differently and doing some healing and inner work, and that will automatically start working on that chakra, because it's all subtle energies. So like Michael said, you don't have to actually be following a practice of it for it to work. I have a girlfriend from childhood in Wyoming, and I had just gotten together with Michael and we were doing this work, and she called me one day and she said, I've never really done yoga before, but I was meditating and I had this experience of an artichoke opening on the top of my head. And I laughed and I said, it's also, described as a lotus flower. The closest reference, aren't a lot of lotus flowers or lilies in Wyoming, so she had an experience, and the only way that she could frame it was by calling it an artichoke. And now she has a spiritual school in Wyoming, and she teaches yoga and does all kinds of really neat stuff.
So John goes on, are praise and the base chakra connected? Well, praise is connected to everything. I mean, Christ said that if people were to stop their mouths from praising the divine, that the very rocks would cry out. So, but primarily it's that throat chakra. It's the yielding of the throat chakra that leads to transcendence of ego. And one of the things that we can do besides chanting mantra and reciting sutras and scriptures is we can praise the presence, and it's a very powerful thing. And then he goes on, it wasn't oneness, it was the peace that passes all understanding, pure fearlessness. I don't know what the difference is. Oneness is one. It's all, I mean, I get what you mean, but really, oneness, when we are at one with the divine, that's where the peace that passes all understanding comes from. But very nice. Thanks for sharing that. I want to get to More over here on Vimeo. Hi, More. More says, hi, what can be happening? I participate in different satsangs and I suppose you mean oneness movement, during the week. but the groups have reduced and almost disappeared. Yeah, well, since
COVID didn't help.
yeah, COVID didn't help, and so lockdowns pretty much stopped spiritual satsangs from gathering in person everywhere, and churches and temples were not meeting together. So there was that. War hasn't helped. The economic difficulties. People there's so much chaos on planetary level right now that life is getting in the way for a lot of people. I know folks that I work with who are deeply connected, deeply devoted to the spiritual journey, and very connected with our community, and one thing after another comes up. One baby, a second baby.
Job change, moving.
and just a very chaotic scenario right now. Things are moving quickly, and people are having to cope with their circumstances. And you've heard the expression, maybe life gets in the way sometimes. Well, that's happening in a huge way for countless millions of people around the world. So surely that's going to affect various satsangs. And
I think too, we just tend to forget the tools that we have. I mean, you're committed to coming on to different satsangs throughout the week because it's beneficial to you and it helps you. And but sometimes we forget, the tools that we have at hand, because like Michael said, we get so caught up in day-to-day life that it's like, okay, I'll skip this satsang this week, and then you just forget the next week, and then keep forgetting until you realize, wow, that really helped me. I should probably go back to that to help get centered and more grounded and to continue growing.
But our in-house satsangs are going well. I mean, we've had more people in the past. We don't want a huge number physically gathered, but we have the space is filled. So we're very happy, and people are growing, and it's nice. I think that without addressing any particular spiritual groups, a lot of people come to a satsang expecting something. And well, we should, because when we come together in
it's an hour of your time.
Well, no, I don't mean it that way. When we come together in the divine name, there's a presence that's transforming and healing, and we expect that. But in some cases, promises have been made. You will be enlightened. Can guarantee it. I have the ability to deliver it to you. And 20 years later, people go, wow, maybe I should look elsewhere. And you can't blame folks if they've come with the idea of a particular result that is guaranteed. That you will grow is guaranteed. That you will continue to awaken and evolve is guaranteed. But sometimes some of these satsangs only last a while for people, and they need to move on and do something else. So I get that. More says, yes, we may be grateful for our stability and peaceful lives. Yeah, we're very grateful.
All day long.
We're blessed to live in a place that
we love.
I could say, is the climate's moderate. All of some things are scarce on the shelves, but we're well stocked and there's peace. There's no war here. Having said that, I think that people's inner life can be just as conflicted and at war, living in a beautiful place. But we do remind ourselves that how fortunate we are to have peaceful lives.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up, because we can never be reminded too many times to have gratefulness in our hearts for anything. I start my mornings with a gratitude prayer before I get out of bed, and just give thanks and and ask to be a blessing to as many people as I can throughout the day. And it just sets the tone, just setting that intention for your day before you even like fully open your eyes or get out of bed. Just puts you in the right space to also encounter people that I can help, and also encounter people that need a smile or want to connect or just make eye contact. You know, it's setting intentions is pretty important.
There's one more little thought about the promise of awakening. We're careful to say that awakening is not a destination. It's not like if you stay on our train long enough, you're going to arrive at the train station called, "Hey, I'm fully awakened." It's like a Mobius strip. And if you don't know what that is, look it up. But it's like a figure eight, and the way that the ribbon is wrapped, there's no end. It just keeps going and going and going and it covers both sides of the ribbon, and it never stops, and it is infinity. But the path of awakening is ongoing.
Mm-hmm. I have aha moments all day long. I mean, it's like I see how I'm being a certain way. I see where I could improve. I see how maybe I'm stuck. I see the grace that's at work in my life and how grateful I am. I mean, we're all such a mixed bag, and I think it's a mistake to label myself awakened, because I'm still looking at new stuff all the time, whether it's the good part of me, the bad part of me, the sad part of me, whatever part. It's a constant journey of continually going back and going within.
More added, sometimes I feel bored, and later I remember it's peace and not chaos. Be grateful.
Exactly. Yeah. I was just thinking that in the car today. I was driving, and I was driving very peacefully and calmly, and I'm looking around, and then I stopped at a light, and my mind went, I'm bored. I should turn the radio on. And I thought, why don't we just sit in this peace? That's funny that you brought that up, because that happened to me today when I was out running errands. I was like, wow, you know, this is peace. There's no chaos going on right now. There's no sound coming out of the radio. Everybody's driving sane. It's a beautiful day, the sun's shining, there's clouds. And
one friend of mine, a mother, her kids would come to her and say, I'm bored. Let's do. And I thought it was so funny when I first heard her response. She said, that is a failure of intelligence. Boredom is a failure of intelligence, you know? Be creative.
Right.
This is your chance.
Go draw something. Build something with popsicles, you know?
Right.
Go out and play outside. Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, really when you just find the space between one disturbing event and the next. Instead of being bored, focus on the space, on the emptiness. It actually is bliss. It is Sat Chit Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. It is the quality you enjoy for eternity that never dies. And it's just so funny that the mind misses it by getting bored. Mind wants something to happen. For goodness sake.
That's so funny. Yeah. Great one. Nice. Yeah.
All right. You did it again.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
John said, like the Energizer Bunny.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's close our eyes and go turn within. And invoke the presence within. Invite, welcome grace of the presence to flood you. The presence loves you unconditionally without judgment. center of your being. There's nothing that you need to do but just open, relax, and receive. The presence is all-knowing, all-wise, and all-powerful, and all about releasing you, liberating you from all suffering, embracing you in total love and drawing you into oneness with itself. It knows exactly what to do and has the power to get it done. So if you're carrying a burden with you tonight, there's some area of your life that's hurting, if you're yearning to be awakened, to experience and live in divine union, express that and let it go. The divine already knows. Just begin to receive and drink in the light and the grace that's pouring out to you right now. Pouring into that situation that you brought to the divine and said, help with this. Now it's time to just relax and receive the help you seek. I'd like to invite you to visualize us sitting together in a blessing circle with our eyes closed but our palms open, facing forward, lifted up. Invite the divine presence to pour the grace of the flowering heart blessing through you to all the other participants. Including all those who will join this satsang between tonight and next week. We hold an intent for all of you, for all of them. The blessing is flowing through all the others to you as well. And just let the divine work do its thing. just a few minutes, visualize planet Earth in the center of our circle. Beautiful blue, living planet Earth. And let us take a special intention tonight, asking for divine grace to make an end to violence and war. The Hebrew scriptures say God makes wars cease to the end of the earth. This is our intention, knowing divine grace can bring this to pass. We take a strong intention for an end to gun violence in the United States. And throughout the world, especially where war and armed conflict is taking place. We take a strong intention for peace on earth, peace in Ukraine. Peace in every other hot spot on this planet. Peace, peace, peace. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. We'd like to invite you to relax your hands. When you're ready, open your eyes and begin to make direct eye contact with Suzanne and or me. Just continue focusing on at least one of our eyes all the time. As we begin the light meditation, Suzanne and I are flooded with divine grace. Oceans of grace begin to pour through every dimension of our being. Especially through the eyes. The eyes have been called the doorways of the soul. During the light meditation, floods of awakened consciousness, awakening grace, continue meditating as long as you like, or find a place nearby to lie in Savasana. That's to lie on your back with your eyes closed, your arms loosely at your sides with your palms open, turned upward. And just lie in the presence and let yourself dissolve in gratitude. We love you very much.
Much love, light, and blessings.
Until we meet again, know that the divine within us beholds and celebrates the divine within you. And we bow. Namaste.